If you want to live, find him. If you don't want to die, don't go anywhere near him. In the shadows of the medical world, there is a legend they call the Underdoctor. He is the greatest physician you have never heard of and the strongest hero the Underworld has ever seen. We don't even know his name yet, but today, a routine flight to Tokyo is about to become his most high-stakes operating room yet. This isn't just a checkup. It is a heart-pumping battle for survival. High above the clouds, Big Air Flight 51 is cruising toward Tokyo when a sudden chime interrupts the peace. An emergency announcement crackles over the speakers. A passenger is suffering from a sudden life-threatening illness. While the cabin descends into a panic, we see a young man with messy, dual-toned hair and gold-rimmed glasses. He is currently slumped in his seat, completely oblivious to the chaos as he sleeps through the entire ordeal. At the rear of the plane, things are reaching a breaking point. A man is collapsed on the floor, clutching his stomach and crying out that the pain is too much to bear. The flight attendants are scrambling, their faces pale as they admit no doctor has stepped forward yet. The junior attendant is frozen in fear, praying for a miracle and wondering if any doctor on this plane is actually brave enough to come to the rescue. 2 hours earlier, we flash back to the chaotic departures terminal at Changi Airport, Singapore. The flight is seconds from closing when a figure sprints through the terminal. It is the same man from the plane, the very last passenger, desperately rushing toward gate I-17. He practically collapses at the check-in counter, panting for air as he begs the staff to let him board. He looks like a total disaster, covered in sweat and clutching a heavy suitcase. The attendant looks at him with relief, noting they have been waiting for him. Little does she know, she just let a ghost onto her flight. Safely on the boarding bridge, the lazy persona suddenly vanishes. He stops and turns to the attendant with a piercing look that cuts right through her. He drops a chillingly accurate diagnosis, telling her that the headache she is feeling is actually coming from her spine. The attendant is stunned. She had not said a word about her pain, yet this stranger diagnosed her in seconds just by watching her walk. He claims that despite his appearance, he is a licensed doctor who can see the truth of a body at a glance. As he disappears behind the curtain, the attendant is left in awe, hoping this incredible doctor will show up to help the man in the back. Back in the present, a savior finally arrives, but it is not our mystery man. A stern older man in an elite lab coat takes charge. Meanwhile, in economy, the real legend is finally waking up. He groans about his bad luck and complains that even in his dreams, he cannot escape the exhausting work of a doctor. The cabin is a mess of noise. A little girl is crying about her vacation being ruined while the man tries to explain the reality of medical emergencies. Suddenly, a rugged passenger with a beard and a massive silver briefcase stands up. He looks like he is ready for a war zone rather than a commercial flight. At the back of the plane, Dr. Ishiguro from a prestigious medical university has taken control. He points a commanding finger at the patient, noting his eyes are out of focus. The flight attendants breathe a sigh of relief, thinking they are lucky to have such a high-profile specialist on board. But the expertise of the elite comes with a cold price. His diagnosis is unspecified food poisoning, and his solution is to turn the plane around immediately. The patient breaks down in tears. He works overseas and this was his only chance to see his daughter. He is desperate to reach Japan, but the expert has already made his call. The plane is turning back, unless the Underdoctor decides to step in. The curtain pulls back as our mystery man finally steps into the light. The junior attendant gasps in shock as the man she met at the terminal stands before her. With a calm, almost bored expression, he introduces himself, stating that he heard someone was sick and offers to help. Dr. Ishiguro looks on, confused, as the newcomer asks to examine the patient. The young man moves with sudden, intense focus. His gold-rimmed glasses catch the light as he leans in close to the suffering passenger. Ishiguro tries to maintain control, offering to report the symptoms he already found so they do not burden the man further. But our protagonist is already one step ahead, asking the man to remove his shirt so he can begin his own examination. Without a moment of hesitation, he strikes the patient's chest. Ishiguro is horrified, accusing him of acting without proof, but the young doctor ignores the outburst. He calmly tells the man to breathe in. He explains that he is hitting specific points on the body to slow down a stimulant the man ingested. The shock on Ishiguro's face grows as he realizes this stranger diagnosed a stimulant reaction that he completely missed. The result is instantaneous. The man's eyes widen as he realizes the pain is finally fading away. Ishiguro checks the pulse and is floored to find it has returned to normal. He cannot understand how someone could get food poisoning so quickly, but the young doctor clarifies that he has only temporarily stopped the pain. The man still needs a hospital, but the immediate crisis is over. The relief in the cabin is overwhelming. The patient tearfully thanks them, realizing he can now make it to Tokyo after all. As the attendants smile, Ishiguro is left in a daze. He cannot understand how an accurate diagnosis was reached without surgery or a scan. He stares at the young man, haunted by the level of skill he just witnessed. As they walk away, Ishiguro does something no one expected. He stops and bows deeply. The young man is startled by the sudden show of respect. The veteran doctor admits total defeat, stating that in 40 years of practice, he has never met anyone with this kind of talent. He asks to be taught how such a diagnosis was possible, humbled by the desire to save lives more effectively. The young man sighs, deciding to reveal his secret. He explains that he can see the weak points in a person's body. Ishiguro is stunned as he tries to process such an impossible claim. The boy looks away, mentioning a single word: light. He explains that since birth, he has seen lights emanating from people's bodies when he focuses. These lights reveal two things: innate vital points and weak points caused by wounds or disease. It took him over a decade to master this vision and reach his current level of accuracy. Ishiguro stands frozen, realizing he is looking at a man who can see the internal truth of any human being. Suddenly, Ishiguro grabs the boy's hands with a massive, genuine smile. He thanks him for choosing to become a doctor. The young man is taken aback by the sudden enthusiasm. Ishiguro admits the story is hard to believe, but the proof was in the man he just saved. To him, the human body is still full of mysteries, and this boy is the key to unlocking them. Ishiguro laughs, declaring that as a fellow doctor, he wants to believe in this incredible gift. He finally introduces himself as the director of a famous university hospital in Tokyo. Our hero finally gives his name in return: Haiji Kino. Ishiguro looks at the legendary hospital in the distance and then back at the boy, admitting that he is nothing special compared to a talent like Haiji. The legend of the Under-Doctor has only just begun. The professional curiosity between the two doctors deepens as they finally exchange names. Haiji recognizes the elder as Dr. Makoto Ishiguro, the leading expert in artificial cell research. Ishiguro is equally amazed to learn that Haiji is entirely self-taught in acupressure therapy. However, a chilling realization cuts through the friendly chatter. They still haven't answered how that man was poisoned aboard a commercial flight. The answer arrives with a terrifying shadow. A group of armed men confronts the doctors. One of the men, holding a silenced pistol, mocks them before a flash of gunfire erupts. Chaos has taken over the skies. At the Tokyo Metropolitan Police HQ, a task force meeting confirms the nightmare. Big Air Flight 51 from Singapore to Tokyo has been hijacked. There are 81 people on board, and the hijackers are demanding 20 billion yen through a special overseas bank. The hijackers deliver a cold ultimatum. If their demands aren't met, they will crash the plane into Tokyo. Below deck, a groaning sound echoes through the darkness of the cargo hold. Haiji is awake, desperately calling out to an injured Dr. Ishiguro to see if he can hear him. As Ishiguro wakes, he recalls the gunfire and asks what happened. Haiji explains that the food poisoning earlier was likely a distraction planted to cause chaos. He waited for the area to clear before carrying the wounded elder down into the shadows to hide. Ishiguro is baffled that Haiji wasn't shot, but the young doctor reveals his secret: his suit is bulletproof. However, Ishiguro is in bad shape. He has 2 gunshot wounds, and while his organs are safe, his veins are severely damaged. The bleeding won't stop, and the bullets need to be removed immediately. The situation is grim. Haiji pleads to operate, noting that the cargo hold luckily contains all the tools he needs. Ishiguro, ever the veteran, realizes the risk. Even if Haiji hurries, the surgery will take 90 minutes. If the hijackers find them during that time, Haiji won't be able to defend himself. Ishiguro tells Haiji to leave him behind and focus on his own escape. He tells the boy to focus on the lives he can actually save, calling it the common sense way for all doctors to think. But the under-doctor doesn't follow common sense. He tells Ishiguro not to compare him to other doctors and reminds him that right now, he is nothing more than a patient. Haiji holds out a syringe, asking one final, heavy question. Would you have any regrets if you died here? Ishiguro's life flashes before his eyes, a long career spent dedicated to healing others. He realizes his work isn't finished. With a determined breath, he answers that he will be fine. The under-doctor prepares to begin the most high-stakes operation of his life. As Dr. Ishiguro prepares for the impossible, he tearfully admits that he cannot die yet. He has far too many patients waiting for him back in Tokyo. Haiji watches him with a soft, knowing smile, noting that this dedication is exactly why doctors exist in the first place. With a final, whispered thank you, the veteran doctor places his life in the hands of the young prodigy. High above, the pressure is mounting. The lead hijacker checks his phone. It has been an hour, and the money still hasn't arrived. On the ground, the task force desperately pleads for more time, explaining that the sheer sum of 20 billion yen is making the transfer difficult. The hijacker is unmoved, granting them a final, measly 30 minutes to finish the transaction. The ultimatum is chilling. For every 30 minutes the money is late, one crew member will be executed. Once the crew is gone, they will start killing the passengers one by one. With a predatory grin, the lead hijacker tells the police he is looking forward to their next conversation. Inside the cabin, the hijackers have completely taken over. They've lowered the altitude, turned off the pressurization, and unlocked the doors to prepare for their own escape once the money clears. They've even started raiding the first-class liquor, completely bored and indifferent to the terror of the passengers. Among the hostages, the junior flight attendant closes her eyes, desperately praying for anyone to save them. As if in answer to her prayers, a shadow emerges. Haiji stands behind two armed guards, his shirt stained with blood but his eyes focused and cold. The reflection in his glasses shows the hijackers standing right in front of him, blissfully unaware that the under-doctor has arrived to settle the bill. Flashback to the cargo hold. Haiji has finished the surgery in record time. While Ishiguro estimated it would take at least 90 minutes, Haiji completed the bullet extractions and repair in only 58 minutes. Ishiguro, now stable and recovering, watches in awe as Haiji puts his coat back on. He asks where the boy is going, realizing Haiji is heading back into the danger zone. Haiji's response is simple: I still have lives to save. Back in the cabin, the hijackers finally notice him and spin around in shock, demanding to know where he came from. Before they can react, Haiji moves with blinding speed, drawing a medical scalpel. Gunfire erupts, blam, blam, but Haiji is already in motion. In a display of superhuman precision, Haiji uses his scalpel to deflect the bullets into the ceiling. The hijackers are paralyzed with fear as they realize their lead is being countered by a man with a knife. Panicked, they scream for the rest of their team to open fire. It's too late. Haiji is a blur of kinetic energy, striking with the same thudding force he used to save his patient earlier. He isn't just a doctor, he is a force of nature. He tears through the hijackers, landing devastating blows that send them crashing into the seats. Gah. As the last of the cabin guards falls, thud, Haiji stands tall, adjusting his glasses. Despite the victory, his pulse is racing, and a dark shadow crosses his face. He mutters to himself about how much he hates the adrenaline and the violence. But as he looks at the terrified passengers, the legend of the under-doctor is the only thing standing between them and a crash landing. As the battle reaches its peak, a dark memory surfaces from the boy's past. A shadowy figure, his own father, looks down on him with cold disappointment. He mocks the boy for wasting his time on medicine, telling him that the power to see the brittle areas on people's bodies was meant for killing, not healing. He vows to turn his son into his finest assassin protege, a weapon designed for absolute destruction. But even as a child, the boy's resolve was unbreakable. He stares back at his father, bleeding but defiant, declaring that he wants to use his power to help people, not take lives. Back in the present, the passengers stare at Haiji in stunned silence as he stands over the defeated hijackers. The mad dog persona he feared is nowhere to be seen, only a doctor who refused to kill. The cabin erupts in cheers and applause. The passengers hail him as a hero, crying out that they owe him their lives. Haiji, clearly uncomfortable with the attention, gives a small, awkward laugh and immediately turns back to the mission. He pulls the junior attendant aside, asking if she knows where the rest of the hijackers are hiding. He tells the group to stay put, deciding to face the remaining danger alone. In the cockpit, the lead hijacker is losing his cool. He realizes they've lost contact with the guards in the main cabin and suspects the passengers are fighting back. His men panic, suggesting they change the plan, but the leader remains arrogant. He sneers at the idea of a hero and prepares his weapon, convinced that all he needs to do is shoot whoever is causing the trouble. The door swings open, and Haiji stands there, casually holding one of the defeated guards by the collar. He looks the bearded leader right in the eye and asks if he's the only one left. The lead hijacker is speechless, paralyzed by the sight of the dead doctor standing perfectly fine in front of him. The hijacker's mind is racing. He knows he shot this man, so how is he still alive and why is he so strong? Haiji's expression turns cold. He admits he is genuinely angry that they shot Dr. Ishiguro. The hijacker tries to apologize, offering to call off the entire plan, but Haiji isn't listening. He tells the man to relax, he won't kill him. Instead, he's going to teach him about the pain he's inflicted on others. What follows is a blur of medical precision used as a weapon. Haiji strikes with the speed of a lightning bolt, calling out the names of every vital point he hits: Kakan, Tentatsu, Mizo Ochi. Every strike lands with a thudding force, systematically shutting down the hijacker's body. The assault is relentless. Inazuma, Kinteki, Kasatsu. Haiji delivers a final, devastating barrage of blows that leaves the lead hijacker crumpled and broken on the floor. The threat that nearly brought down Big Air Flight 51 has been neutralized by a single man with a scalpel and a conscience. Haiji enters the cockpit and calmly greets the terrified pilot. He asks if they can maintain their current altitude and explains that the hijacker's escape plan has been permanently cancelled. Outside, the dawn begins to break over the horizon, signaling the end of the long nightmare. With the plane safe, Haiji returns to the cargo hold to check on Ishiguro. To his surprise, the veteran doctor is standing, albeit weakly, holding a parachute. Ishiguro explains that he doesn't want to deal with the inevitable police questioning in Tokyo, so he's going to disappear before they land. He looks at Haiji one last time, recognizing that the boy truly lives in a different world. Before he goes, Haiji has one last thing to ask the man who validated his existence as a doctor. As Ishiguro prepares to leap, Haiji looks at him with a wide, genuine smile and asks the only question that matters. Will I be able to see you again? Ishiguro doesn't hesitate for a second, promising that they definitely will. Back on the main deck, the plane finally breaks through the clouds toward Tokyo, leaving the nightmare behind. The attendants and passengers search frantically for their savior, but Ishiguro tells them the truth. The mysterious doctor with the glasses is long gone. Miles away, a lone figure drifts through the dawn sky under a massive parachute. On the other end of a radio, someone mocks Haiji for yawning after such a narrow escape, but the young doctor is already reaching his limit. He admits he didn't get a wink of sleep on the plane and is heading straight to bed, leaving the mess for his contact to clean up. As the voice on the radio screams at him to wake up, the legend of Haiji Kino drifts silently into the sunrise, asleep before he even touches the ground.